It is common in management, and I'm given to believe that there are provisions within the Act to remove the Inspector General. You make a petition to the President, you set up a tribunal, you list his failings, and, quote unquote, you sack him. Why don't you sack him?
We cannot sack the Inspector General. The Commission has
Why don't you put in train measures that would result in him being sacked?
Okay, when we have somebody that is performing, in our opinion, and when you have a person in an institution that is new, I think it's always useful to appreciate one thing. Institutions, as they start to work, they go through the normal process of forming. They go through the normal process of storming before they begin performing. As the National Police Service Commission, we actually are at the stage of storming. And sure enough, like all other institutions, we will get to perform before we begin to exit.
But so, Commissioner, you're saying give us time and everything will be okay. Fine. But I'm saying to you, as we await for everything to be okay, explain to the Mwananchi why there is such importance to the delegating of commissioners of police to various counties, for example. What's the big deal there? Surely if I'm competent, we go back to my comfort zone is teaching.
Yes.
So that's what I've done all my life. I've been a teacher. Why can't I be as competent a headmaster in Wajir as I am in Shimoni, as I am in West Pokot?
Fortunately, you and I share the same background as teachers. And we know one thing for sure. As you sign your contract with your employer, if you're in the public service, you indicate you'll work anywhere in the Republic of Kenya, or you may be assigned work outside the country, but by the authority that is entitled to do so. In the case of county commanders, it is the Constitution that commands the National Police Service Commission to put in place what it will take for the administration of law and order at the county level to be headed by a competent, well-qualified person.
Right, I'm sorry, I don't understand. I will express ignorance once again. We've all got the same jobs, but
Yes.
You're saying that if I am here as opposed to there, I shall end up being more competent. Surely that's the region. This is where the vested interests come in. What is there to be gained? What is the subtext? When we look the history books, when you write your memoirs,
Yes.
What's the subtext to this feud?
I think I better make it better understood. The county commander is an officer who will take charge of police command at the county. This is a new structure. Prior to that, we had OCPDs in charge of districts. The OCPD will still remain, but in tune with the current constitution, the devolved government structures provide for one person or persons that will take charge at the county level. And in this case, the commission is putting in place an office that didn't exist and populating it with the persons that have the necessary skills and the competence to manage policing at that level. Now, we have not yet put those people
suggesting incompetence at present. This is the new dispensation. Everything is awful. Nothing works. This new office is going to sort things out because you, the commission, have chosen the person to run it.
There is
not an entirely satisfying explanation to me. Not yet. Because I'm saying, why does the individual in place become more important than the institution itself? Because we're hackling over...
Can I correct that?
Do. That's the,
I want to correct it by indicating
that is the purpose of our conversation.
The first thing that happens is to create the institution. Then after the institution is created, it is populated by persons that will make the institution work. In the case of the National Police Service, the job of creating the structure is the responsibility of the Inspector General, which he has done. The job of ensuring the requisite human resource is available to go into those institutions is the job of the National Police Service Commission. So the Inspector General has told us these are the structures. Please go ahead and go through the process that ensures that we populate these positions. That is what we are doing now. It is not that they existed in competence, But right now, that is the structure of government that exists.
May I read you another quote that's attributed to you?
Right.
Maybe you are misquoted, because lots of people get misquoted in what you're doing. But it is said that you said there are concerted attempts to derail the interviewing and vetting of officers for the positions of county commanders through threats, but we shall proceed with the exercise undeterred. We have reports that officers keen on getting the positions of county commanders have received threatening messages from the office of the IG, but the exercise will continue. This suggests to me a war zone.
It isn't a war zone. It's just a declaration of the fact that it is useful for Kenyans to get to understand that the reform process has impediments. And that's one of the impediments. It is useful for Kenyans to understand that we are transparent as a commission, and that it is not just a thought. We have the evidence that persons outside and within the police service would like to frustrate the commission's efforts to do his work. For example, when officers receive a memo on the eve of the closure of the application's receipt, debts, and then they come back to us and say, we've been told not to apply, and some of us have already applied. That certainly is not a positive thing being done by a person placed in authority and who also was part of the decision to carry out that exercise. Now, what we will not know is...
So let's put it again in layman's terms.
Yes.
Good cops, good policemen
Yes.
are being threatened not to apply,
Yes.
which means that those who will get the positions will be bad policemen.
Okay, not so.
Why not
It is
so?
not general.
Right?
What there is
then
is...
why be the object of the threats if people don't see that you'll sort of ruin the status quo?
I think what is important to be understood is that change can be so uncertain. And we have never had county commanders before.
Right.
We've never insisted on professionalism while we are carrying out the process of recruitment.
Commissioner, so you're saying the stakes are high. I understand that.
The
stakes are high.
Yes.
And this is, once again, a feud, because it's the battle between good and evil, and you're trying to suggest that at present there are forces to make it possible for evil to triumph.
I like the way you put what you do. But there is one thing that I would like to bring out in a different manner, and that is to indicate that there are certain traditions, there are certain practices that have always been, attendant to policing in this country. One of those practices has been shrouding police work in mystery. And under the new dispensation, we are made to understand, and that is a calling many of us have, that the public participates in the processes of selection. I know that the Inspector General and some other senior officers will have liked the advertisement for these positions to be internal. That has had a lot of problems in the past. Some competent officers have been excluded for reasons that are always well known. And there are some officers who are not as competent, who find themselves in those top jobs. What we are saying is that openly give a chance to all officers to appreciate that it is a competitive process. And we will not like to go back to the system where things are done in secrecy.
Did you at one point suggest that you should vet the Inspector General himself, having appointed him? That's another quote attributed to you. Did you say we ought to vet this fellow, having given him the job?
Let's go back to the Judges and Magistrates Vetting Board and his work. Whenever they did an appointment, it was a job interview. It had elements of vetting as well. We did that in respect to the Inspector General. But vetting is open and it is a continuous process. I'm also subject to vetting as the chairperson of the National Police Service Commission to determine, am I still the same person that was vetted, and am I still presenting the image of a clean person to society? So the Inspector General is made on earth, just like the two deputies. So it will be a pleasant thing if all officers who are being vetted will see that our Inspector General has nothing to hide.
I understand.
Yes.
So we must stop. Time won't allow. The last question is, where do we go from here?
I'll tell you one thing. the National Police Service Commission, whose chairperson I am, is very optimistic. We were put in office, and our main responsibility was to ensure fairness, equity, and also to ensure that reforms in the police service take root. We will not do so alone. We will do so with the police officers who are in the National Police Service. I say this because if change has to be meaningful, the persons over whom the change is being sought have to participate in the process. And our approach, therefore, is, can we have police officers, can we have the public contribute to the process of ensuring that the changes as commanded by the Constitution in the police service are not just seen, but they are practical.
Commissioner Johnston Kavuludi, thank you so very much for coming on the JSO interview.
Thank you.